hold on. Why did I just forget when I turn on the camera? There's more ways to screw something up than there is to do it right. Look at that. Look at how flat it is. So happy with that. Welcome back to the Empire of Dirt. If you watched my last video where I cut this up this pallet rack to try to make a welding table and watched it all the way to the end, you would have seen that the piece of metal that I was going to use for the top wasn't flat. So through the magic of retail, I took that piece of metal and turned it into all of these pieces of metal. So now I'm going to have to make a top out of all of this stuff. So my goal is to make a metal pallet rack, and in order to make sure I had all the measurements right, I ended up 3D modeling it in Fusion. If I do it right, it should be flat. Okay, I think you get the idea. This takes a long time to cut, so I'm gonna stop the time lapse and let you know about a couple things that I've learned. First off, it's way easier to cut it all the way this way. This side of the white line is my true measurement, so they are being cut like 1/8 of an inch too long, so I can dress it up and clean it later. But you might have seen I'm using this Bauer hand portable bandsaw from Harbor Freight, and it kind of sucks because these screws that hold this plate in place, if you can see it, they come up higher than the levelness of the plate. So every time I get to the screw, it catches, and then I start going over the screw, and it makes the bandsaw cut in a different direction. So I'm gonna go see if I can get some replacement screws that are flathead instead of these stupid panhead ones. And then hopefully that'll help make my cuts better. As you can see, these are already stripped out because they're kind of garbage, and I had to saw this one to be able to get a flathead on it. Anyway, let's get back after I finish getting all of these cut. All right, so I've been working on this between interruptions. I got all of the pieces cut. These are the 2 bottom rails you saw in that 3D model, and then these are the 8 top rails. And I labeled them and marked their reference edges, so I know where I measured from. Then the next thing I need to do is I need to make sure that all of these posts, another thing I did is I moved these cross pieces down 1 keyhole. And then what I'm doing is I'm cleaning these posts off so they sit just underneath this surface. And then I can set the other ones on top of it, and that'll bring the table height down a little bit to normal. Besides that, I need to put my casters on so I can level the table and then make sure everything is flat and level.
And if you think you can even approach it with your sad, naked caveman eyeball and a bubble of air, you're the reason this species is a failure, and it makes me angry.
And then lay it out. And I really need to make sure that this first one is perfect because I'm going to use 1, 2, 3 blocks. And if you're not sure what a 1, 2, 3 block is, it's one of these. You can buy them on Amazon. If I remember, I'll link them below. If not, remind me, and then I'll pin a link in the comments or something for you. But these have the dimension of 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inches, and then they have all of these holes so that you can use to reference stuff for. Anyway, I'm going to get the first one all square, make sure that these are the same distance apart so they're parallel, whether the table is parallel or not. This pallet rack, because they're not perfect. And then I'm going to use those 1, 2, 3 blocks of spacers and line out all of the top pieces along the edge. That's it for today. I will see you in half a second with some new clothes, and I'll continue working on this project. So, new day, and I want to let you know, on my main quest to try to make this table as flat as the earth, this side quest, I needed to put the wheels on so I can level the table and have trust that it's level, since I got these super cool casters that you can use to adjust the legs. I realized that I needed to make sure that this bottom piece was flat and square. I'm cutting these down to 1 inch below this piece. This is my best reference piece since I cut both sides. and this was put there from the factory. And then I'm gonna do that on both sides. Hopefully I can figure out how to cut these square. If not, I think my table is doomed to be not square on the bottom. And then the casters will sit all wonky, and I don't want that either. All right, this is what I mean. I marked this with a Sharpie. I used a 1, 2, 3 block as a gauge right here, and as a gauge right here. I guess I'm making some poor assumptions because I put my square flush against this face, and then flush against that where the 1, 2, 3 blocks meet, and then I draw a line, and then I did that on both sides, and then I used a square. I guess I'm assuming that this is square, and I'm making some bad assumptions like that, but they don't line up. If anyone has a good way, I mean, I'm probably making a bigger deal out of this than it needs to be, and if you have a better way for me to do this, let me know in the comments so I can do it better next time I have to do something like this. All right, after thinking about this all day at work again today, the only valid reference that I have are these eye holes that were put there by a water jet or a CNC or something. So what I'm going to do to make this even across the top is I'm going to use those support braces over there, and I'm going to put it right here at the bottom, and right where those pieces come up to this edge is where I'm going to cut it and make it flush. All right, I realized I can't even do that.
Idiot!
Because the distance from this piece to here is not the same on this side as it is on that side. Well, all I did was I made sure that I cut these at the same distance from this bottom part of this eye hole right here on each one of those legs, and then I made sure all of them were level. So before I make my first weld on this and make it permanent, I'm gonna do a test weld on this. So I'm not a welder. I think I have my settings
Wrong again, idiot.
set right, but now I'm gonna tack this. Hopefully I don't ruin it. I mean, if I do, that's why I'm using a scrap piece, right? Hopefully I don't screw it up too bad and the settings are okay. And I'm going to record it on my GoPro. Hopefully I don't burn out the lens, but maybe I will, and I'll have an excuse to get a new GoPro. After I tried that yesterday, I did some research, talked to some people, and they said to set the welder to the thickness of that metal and then try to drag the puddle onto the thin metal. So I measured that metal and it's 1/4 inch. And for this welder, it says for, if I can find it, 1/4 inch. Multi-pass required.
Lilu Dallas multipass.
And I don't even think I can do it on these settings. Anyway, so I just put it all the way to the top and I'll see if I can get it to stick. I got a decent one on there, which is that one in the middle, and I got a couple crappy ones, but it's holding way better than the previous one. So I think I'm gonna go forward with it, and then maybe, well, definitely grind it so it won't be as ugly. Another update time. I got all of these welded on off camera because I kept having to fight with the welder because the wire right here kept binding up. Sorry I didn't get it tacking these on camera, but all 4 of them are tacked on now, finally. And then I went to Home Depot to buy this transfer punch, not Home Depot.
Wrong again, idiot.
Harbor Freight to get this transfer punch kit so I can now transfer the holes for this onto the feet, drill and tap those, and then I can bolt the feet on. Well, I was gonna finish this, but I started tapping the holes and broke the tap off in that hole. So now I got some new tools on the way. I got a new tap on the way, but I'll get this video out before I have to wait a week and a half to get the rest of the tools I need to finish this project. Unless maybe I clean this off again and build the tabletop on that. Maybe, I don't know. I did get my box of stuff from Amazon, including these fluted, I guess, spiral taps and these tap extractors. But what I did instead, before those showed up, is I just filled the hole with weld, moved all the holes over, and then when I was tightening these wheels on, this bolt broke in the threaded hole after I threaded them all to 1/4 20. So I think the universe is telling me that this hole does not get a bolt, and if it becomes a problem, I will tack weld it on and make future me deal with it. All right, so I have the table mostly laid out, and I probably spent way too much time trying to get these two support braces parallel and make sure that this was exactly perpendicular to it. But the reason I spent so much time doing that is because everything else is going to be referenced off of these two pieces and their perpendicularity, if that's a word. And then I'll use these 1, 2, 3 blocks to space all these other ones out and make sure that they're lined up on this edge, which is my reference edge for all of them. That's the cleanest cut on all the pieces. And then I'm gonna tack it all together, and then this table will finally be done. So I started tacking to make sure that my welder settings were okay, and realized these look like straight up garbage with all the bubbles in it. So I went to check my gas, and it turns out I'm out of gas. I forgot to close it from the last time, so I just wasted a whole 20-pound bottle of argon. Anyway, live and learn. Back to finishing this another day. So all I have to say at this point is working on stuff is dumb, because I went and got more welding gas, and then that bottle leaked from the valve. So I went and changed it out for this bottle, which is half the size, but she said she'll give me this bottle for free. Anyway, that doesn't matter. And then I, as you see on the GoPro, as I redo these tacks that looked terrible to begin with, and then I start doing that tack, my welder binds up again because this spool got all loose and started sprawling wire everywhere. And now, same problem I had the other day, it's jammed up all right here again in the feed. So my cable isn't tight, so it's not getting pinched and binding up in there. So I'm just going to replace this inner sleeve, and then hopefully that will fix this dumb problem.
You tried your best and you failed miserably. The lesson is never try.
Well, while you weren't looking, I changed my clothes again, and I finished welding those tacks. I connected them on all of the pieces, and I've put it on the frame. So that's it for this welding table video, but I could use your help. I don't know if there's something I should like spray or coat this with to be able to prevent it from being rusty. So if I roll it outside and have to leave it, I mean, it's mostly dry where I'm at. Hardly any rain, almost no humidity, that kind of place. But anyway, I don't know if I should spray something on this or leave it, and if it gets a little rusty, hit it with an angle grinder. I don't know. I guess time will tell, but if you know of a product that I could possibly use, go ahead and put it in this description. Look at that. Look at how flat it is. So happy with that.